Hello. Good morning. Welcome, Pigeon. Stand up and flap. Okay. I didn't even see you, but you know, I don't see much pigeons. Welcome. I'm really pleased that you're here. Obviously, there's some people who probably got a hangover, are still in bed because not all of you are here. But I'm glad that you've made it. Scott, can I just have the lights a little bit, please? I'd like to see some reactions. Who saw Neil last night? What do you think?
Amazing.
Very nice. Fucking hell. Wasn't he great? Cool. So, those of you that have been to my events before will know my kind of mentality and ethics behind all this stuff. Those of you that are newbies, I hope you're starting to see. You know, for me, it's about blowing your mind with loads of different things. But apart from the speakers, there are a load of other things that I try and put into it. And actually what I believe is often, you know, if you watch a movie and it's got amazing special effects, you just don't know it's a special effect because it's so good, it just is part of it, right? So I in a way, I kind of think, well, maybe people don't notice, but that's a good thing. But I put a lot of effort into production levels, things like the AV, you know, the sound, the music, you know, everyone that's going to speak. I talk to them about, oh, I'm going to intro you and I'm going to outro you and this is the timings and I will give you a warning and so forth, because I want the experience to be really great and smooth for you guys. You know, too often do I see images on the internet of, you know, people have been to talks and it's so lo-fi and I kind of think, really? You know, are they happy with that? Now, I understand people just want the content, but for me it's about delivering almost a show, if you like. So, you know, you may have noticed I like to have the music pumping because I want to kind of get a vibe going. And then when the speakers are on, the lights are down because then you've got, this is your focus, right? You know, so hopefully you're enjoying that. And the reason why I tell you is because this next session absolutely is like the epitome of attention to detail. If you've never seen the elevator pitch before, you can look forward to a great 45 minutes coming at you, because the idea behind the elevator pitch was that years ago, when I first started the event, I thought, you know, if I don't expand my kind of group of speakers that I can call upon, then I'm going to be guilty, as some events are, of bringing back the same people over and over again. And I didn't want to do that. I wanted to be fresh as much as I could. So, you know, I thought, because I'm, you know, a kind of control freak, I wanted to see people talk before I invited them, because a part of my kind of mentality is I want them to be charismatic as well as have great content, because there's nothing better than seeing a great talk from someone that can talk and then you really, really enjoy it. So I thought, how do I do this without travelling all over the world? Why don't I get them to come to me? So I decided, right, I want to do the elevator pitch. And my initial thought was I was going to buy one of those big shepherd's crooks and I was going to yank them off. After 3 minutes I thought, the PC crowd are going to hate me, you know. So obviously that was the end of that idea. But I still wanted to do it as my vision was. They get 3 minutes. 3 minutes, they get cut off. So if they short it, fine. Then they have to leave the stage. If they go long, no. We cut you off because the next person is coming on. You'll see exactly what I'm saying in the next 45 minutes. It is very quick fire. The idea of this thing is to expose these people to you, and then when I send you your feedback form link, you will get to vote your favourite 3, and they will get invited back to do full slots next year. So it's nothing to do with me, it's all to do with you. I've asked them all to put their names up at the front and at the end of their talk so you can remember them, and I'll put their pictures on the side when you do your feedback. But enjoy this because you are, you know, it really is fast-paced and great. Now, these guys, this is, a lot of them, it's the first time they've ever done public speaking. So please, you know, be behind them, give them as much support as you can. If they're shit, you only got to put up with them for 3 minutes. But if they're good, then you're going to love it, all right? I have watched 2 rehearsals so far out of the 4 that we make them do whilst you're all having pizza. You know, so they really have worked hard. Make sure that they feel appreciated for that. Make a load of noise. I'm going to start the first one now. Please put your hands together for this year's Elevator Pictures.
Hello everyone, my name is Adrian and today I'm going to show you 3 ways to run a front-end meetup. First, a little bit about myself. I'm a front-end developer based in Dublin, Ireland, where I'm organizing on my own 2 meetups, WCSS and Corporate Dublin, and I'm co-organizer of a 3rd one. For any more details, feel free to Google my Twitter handle. Why run a meetup at all? That is a big question. What's in it for me? It will create you great opportunities for networking and socialization. You'll meet your peers with people in your area who are interested in the same things as you are. It will give you a lot of opportunities to hone your hard and soft skills. You'll have the opportunity to get a lot of technical knowledge from these meetings, but at the same time, running an event like this will force you to learn how to communicate, how to lead that group, how to manage it. And last but not least, it will put you on the radar of the local community, of the local companies, and it can be a step up for international exposure, like in my case. How to get started? We have 3 ways, as I said before. An easy way, a hard way, and a fast way. Let's get fast through all of them. The easy way, join an existing group. Go to meetup.com, put in the search field the criteria that are interesting to you. You'll find most likely a group already existing. Join, or go to the meetings, offer your help to the organizer, work your way up until you become a co-organizer yourself. If there's no other group in the area that fits your interest, you have to do it the hard way. Start from scratch. Again, the best tool for that is meetup.com. It offers a lot of other tools for group management, for communication, and it will make other people in your area who are signed up on that website aware that your new group is born. If either of these options is not good for you, then you have a 3rd one. The fast way is to use a pre-existing model of meetups. For front-end enthusiasts, I recommend front-end meetup model, #not sponsored. It's like a franchise for front-end meetups. You will get great support from their crew, advice, some swag to give up, promotion of your events. They have a scheme in place to cover some of your venue and refreshment options. This is a proof that I'm eating my own dog food. I've done all 3 ways. Easy way with WX, hard way with WCSS, and the fast way with Corp and Dublin. All 3 ways which I just gave up to you are proven to work. So, I'm available for any questions you might have. Feel free to start me outside in the hallway or tweet me at my Twitter handle. Thank you for your attention and keep up the good work.
Hi, I'm Hayley. I'm a freelance animator originally from Durham, but I now live in London. So, who wants to design for a better world? Well, I sort of can see you. I think that was good, but I hope your reaction was a bit like this. So basically, you're probably thinking, wow, this is a big topic for 3 minutes, but I'm really passionate about working on projects that have a positive impact on the world, so I wanted to try and talk about how we can try and do that in our own work. So we all know that good design with a powerful message can change the world. A great example of this is obviously the Obama poster. It had such a big impact on his campaign, and it's also a great piece of iconic design. So more than ever, companies are thinking about their social responsibility. B Corps are a new type of company that use the power of business to solve social and environmental problems. So this got me thinking about how can we as individual designers make a difference. So I think what we need to do is position ourselves so that we have the freedom to choose our clients and attract clients whose values align with our own. So I wanted to show you a couple of projects quickly that I've done that I feel align with my own values. This one was from for the UN for their Sustainable Energy Conference. And then this one is from a film I made for the School of Life called Why We Always Blame Our Partners. The School of Life's aim is to develop emotional intelligence. So I can't show you very much, unfortunately, but there you go. And so I've got a few tips on how you might find clients that share your own values. The first one, you need to actively look for your ideal clients and target them. So, you know, if you don't know where to start, maybe you could look at the list of B Corps on their website and, you know, try and find companies that align with your own values there. Obviously, you know, personal work is really, really important to winning clients, so you shouldn't put anything on your website that you don't want to work on. So the same applies if you want to work with clients who are doing things for good, you know, you can attract them that way. And the third one is obviously be vocal about the kind of people that you want to work with and start a conversation with them. So we all have platforms like Twitter and LinkedIn where we can share our opinions. You know, you could write a blog post about your values and you could also put them on your About page. So, you know, I hope that I've inspired you to use your work to have a positive impact on the world. Obviously, you know, we're just scratching the surface of this idea with this talk, but I'd love to come back and speak to you about this because I feel like with design we make companies look good, so we should try and work with companies that are doing good as well. So I put my websites on there, hayleyakins.com, motionhatch.com. Thank you very much.
Right, my name's Sharif, and I'm going to talk to you about some of the most experiences I've recently created in Web VR, along with a few basic tips that I think are useful. It's hard to know if it's really going to work in VR until you actually experience it in VR. When I first start working on something, I like to create a simple demo or a prototype. It can be a really quick win, save loads of time, and it's also really good in communicating the idea and experience to others. With a simple panel converter, you can be hearing in a headset within minutes. Test it. Test the user experience and then repeat. Test with as many different types of people as possible. Everyone's unique, and VR can affect people in very different ways. Plan the experience and keep it simple. This sketch was from a project where users needed to unlock a journey around a room by following simple clues. We knew this could be someone's first experience of VR, so understanding what to do, how it works, and how to interact needs to be obvious. If it's disorientating, confusing, or if they get stuck, they'll just quit the experience. This is how the journey started to come together. We used directional lighting, acoustics, and a few visual prompts to guide them and keep them on track. As they progressed through the experience, the room gradually came illuminated and came to life. And this is a final preview of the room. Cato. Cato is a medical workflow solution that's integrated into hospitals to improve efficiencies. Our idea here was to create a miniature virtual hospital inside that Cato cube. We wanted to immerse healthcare professionals into a familiar environment so they could quickly identify and relate to pain points and then understand how Cato solves them. During the early prototypes, it became clear there were some problems with the workflows. They were difficult to read, we were getting really awkward angles, and the primary content, the workflows, appeared very much secondary to the hospital environment. So it's back to the drawing board. We simplified the experience, the messaging, and we also changed the workflow positions. The result was basically dropping the panels so they appeared directly in front of you. The interaction and digestion of the content became much easier, and it significantly improved the whole experience, making it feel so much more comfortable. So this is the beginning of the whole experience, when users are first immersed into that Cato cube. VR is evolving at a significant rate and everybody's learning and trying to figure this stuff out. There's so much more I want to talk about, but 3 minutes isn't all the time, so thank you.
My name's Sticky, and I'm a researcher. Actually, my thing is going out and talking to people in their homes and their workplaces and talking about problems that hopefully we can solve. I want to talk to you about a project that we did, which has just gone through the discovery phase and getting a bunch of user requirements, designing things for teenagers with lifelong diseases. So the disease we're talking about is cystic fibrosis. It's the one where you've got thick mucus in your lungs, and in order to breathe, probably have to do hours of exercises every single day. On top of that, you have to eat pills every single meal time with your food. And if you catch a cold or a flu of someone, you're going to be hospitalized for weeks, maybe months, every single time. That plus a whole load of other stuff means you've got a life expectancy about half that of a normal person. Teenagers think this is really boring. They want to do normal teenage stuff like watch YouTube, play Minecraft, go out. Parents also think this is really boring. Lots of parents have to nag, they will hate it, but these parents are quite literally nagging to prolong the life of their teenagers. What they do now will affect them years down the line. And on a practical level as well, they're also doing those exercises every single day or getting the teenagers to do it. You've then got the medical teams, the doctors, physios, nurses, psychologists. They all want a better quality of life for their patients, but they're only as good as the data that's being provided to them. So they have a clinic every 8 weeks with their patients, and they're reliant on the tests and also what the teenagers tell them. And not all teenagers are that chatty or that reliable at telling you what they've been up to. And then there's the NHS. The demand for the NHS is always increasing, generally, and for new technologies and treatments. So if we can keep these teenagers healthy and out of hospital, then that money can be better invested elsewhere. So we've got cystic fibrosis, and teenagers, and parents, and medical teams, and the NHS all to consider in this problem. So we're looking at digital apps. The reason why is because there aren't many good cystic fibrosis apps at the moment, with all the complicated meds and treatments and exercises. They don't integrate that well with Fitbits and things like that, and they're all designed for adults, none are really designed for teenagers. So we've made a designed a concept called Hacker. What it does for the teenager is it has their personalised plan in, their meds, their treatments, their exercises, and it reminds them of them with smartphone notifications and alarms. And it also uses things like fitness trackers so they don't have to remember what they've done and tell people what they've done. For the parent, it shows them when their exercise and treatments have been done. It helps with nagging, but it also helps with being nice as well. And for the healthcare professional, it gives them that data as they go into that clinic so they can prescribe the next 8 weeks of treatment better. So we've taken that and we've submitted that for extra funding, and we're feeling pretty positive about it. I think we're going to get it. So the next one is about prototyping and seeing if teenagers will even touch this thing. Invite me back next year, I'll tell you what happened.
Hi, I'm Tricky, and I'm the creative director at Flux, where we use design thinking to help organisations to change and innovate at pace. Nowadays, I get to work on some pretty fun projects, like designing 3D technology for aeronautical engineers. But I started my career way back in the 90s, when awesome films like Independence Day were topping the box office. Some of us veterans refer to this period as the glory days of Flash, but it wasn't always that glorious. You see, back then, not everyone really understood what the internet was for. So as designers, we could be pretty self-indulgent. Personally, I did not walk away from this period guilt-free. As you can see here, I somehow convinced Roche, a global pharmaceutical company, that it was a great idea for us to design an online multiplayer game where users play the role of an animated dancing pill. Of course, if you do something that you love, then success follows you. But it is different when your creativity is your business. You have to sell yourself, you have to employ people, deal with accountants and even bankers. So, as a creative, there's a slightly higher chance that you're going to experience depression. And it turns out that I've got this gene. There's been low points in my career where I've cared too much, overworked and made myself unwell. But I've learned from my mistakes, so I'd like to share 3 things with you that I believe will help you to stay healthy, creative and balanced. My first mistake was putting all of my passion into my client work. I now believe that personal projects are a fantastic investment in yourself. I've chosen photography as a creative outlet. It's easily accessible, and capturing a portrait is a wonderfully rewarding experience. I love to shoot on film, because you have to be truly in the moment for that 1,000th of a second. This image here is actually captured on a medium format camera I bought on eBay that predates the war. Previously, when I overworked, I was offered medication, but I chose endorphins as a natural alternative. I started by going out on my mountain bike with my friends, but of course, my OCD tendencies mean that I've taken that to the next level. And now once a year, I try and go out to the Alps, which I find to be a truly meditative experience. Finally, I would advise you once in a while to throw your toys out of the pram. In the past, I've messed up in meetings, and I've let my emotions get the better of me. But I've learnt now how to throw tantrums at the right time for effect. It's okay to do a Draper once in a while. Thanks for listening. I'm Tricky. I'd love to hear from you.
I'm Johnny. I once had a long debate with a Brighton hipster about the morality of veganism and found myself struggling to rationalise my meaty purchasing choices. I got curious. Why didn't his facts persuade me? Here's a fun question. Raise your hand if you believe that you're below average at driving compared to the other 400 people in this room. Way less than half of you. Interesting. Now, either you're shy or you've just illustrated the Dunning-Kruger effect, or the feeling that we're better at something than we actually are. We need mental models to make sense of the world, and these biases fall into 4 general buckets. First, there's the fire hose of information. These are mental shortcuts that help us to filter it. Second, we're pattern recognizing creatures. We connect the dots with stuff that we think we already know, and we tell stories. Third, we use mental shortcuts in order to act fast in the face of uncertainty. An example of this might be someone trying to fit 28 slides into 3 minutes. This is known as optimism bias. Finally, we distill information into key elements. For example, you're more likely to remember the final elevator pitch tomorrow rather than this one. But the world has changed beyond recognition in the last 2 decades. Our mental models have barely evolved in the last 27,000 years. Cognitive biases are like these lenses. They were designed to help us navigate the world by changing our perception of reality. But these lenses don't always serve us, especially when we don't know we have them. And these aren't actually my glasses. I've got 20/20 vision, but I thought they'd make me at least 10% more intelligent. Being blind to these biases has less than ideal consequences for our planet. So what can we do about this? Why aren't our kids taught this at school? And how might we make the learning process a bit more delightful and memorable? This great man is Rudyard Kipling. You might have heard of something he wrote called the Just So Stories. I remember being read his classic, How the Whale Got His Throat, by my dad as a bedtime story. So I had an idea, and I sent out this tweet with a book idea for cognitive bias animals and where to find them. Illustrated short stories that bring these mental models to life. I was imagining writing stories about a self-centered elephant, or a pessimistic turtle, or a fox who doesn't like to count his chickens. And that's about as far as I got before good old imposter syndrome kicked in. So my plan is to spend the next few months researching and writing these stories and potentially turning them into a card game. But I'd love to hear any ideas that you have. Send me a tweet, and I really hope to come back next year to show off what I've done. Thank you.
Hello everyone, that's my name, and recently I've decided to redesign religion. Why? Well, first because I believe religions are outdated, often dogmatic, for instance that, or that. A lot of religions are antagonistic too. Here's an example. And another. Most religions are irrational. Some can be perceived as manipulative, and some even promote violent behavior. At this point, you might think I hate religions, but religions can also help us make sense of the world, alleviate our fears, give us a direction, a sense of belonging, a moral compass, and even make us happier. So how will we go about redesigning it? Well, what if we removed the bad stuff and make it compatible with everything that we know today? Rich spirituality and reason, feminine and masculine, stories and facts, wisdom and knowledge. The idea is to create a symbiosis between two seemingly opposite forces. So I went ahead and reviewed all the major religions, and once I made a synthesis of them, I do the same for science and philosophies, and see if there are bridges we can build between different ideas. As our knowledge is quite siloed, my goal is to connect the dots in a narrative that makes sense. But also offer an overview on all the different hypotheses for the things we don't know yet. I want to test new ideas as part of the design process, so I'd love to get your feedback. So what will the ideal religions be like? Well, I believe it should be founded on those traits. What's the meaning of life? Well, lots of institutions and religions and schools keep telling you what you should be doing. Well, really, you need to find your own path. And that's the role that shaman have over priests. Priests tell you what you should believe, but really, shamans help you find your true calling. So who are the bad guys? Well, we tend to think of the world as good and bad. That's just in our biology, as us against them. I'm British, you're British, I'm French, and so on. But what if we expand our definition of us to all of humanity, and them as potential threat to humanity? Does God exist? Well, I believe having no God, one or many, are just different perspectives on one and the same thing we can't experience directly. Game or an experiment. In both cases, we are being tested. If we keep making bad decisions, behave selfishly, it's game over. But if you follow your dream, do what's hard, protect your environment, and work together, then it's paradise. You may say I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. Thank you very much. Have a meaningful life.
And today I'm going to tell you about my experience that I had as a graphic designer in an agency in Japan. So, as a bit of backstory, in 2006 I went to Japan for an exchange year to learn about Japanese. And it was pretty awesome. A year wasn't enough, I decided I had to go back. So, after graduation, I went back. So I chose the easiest way back into Japan, as an English teacher. But that got really boring after a while, as it wasn't my dream and it wasn't my passion. So I decided it was time to go big or go home. So I decided that I was going to apply for a design job. So I applied for jobs in my area and I found that it was rather difficult to get a job in an agency as a foreigner. But a miracle happened and I got a job in an agency. I joined Koryo Web and Graphic Design Agency in Nagoya, Japan. Probably not heard of it. Very small. But there were many challenges in joining this agency. Many challenges. This was my first ever job in an agency. Japanese is hard. Communicating with my co-workers was very difficult. And Photoshop in Japanese just plain sucked. Just imagine this in Japanese. There was also no 9 till 5. There was a 9 till 8, a 9 till 9, a 9 till 10, a 9 till 11, and a 9 till 2 days later. None of us slept, washed, brushed their teeth, or went home. It was a very smelly office. But although there were challenges in working in a Japanese agency, I quickly learned how to cope with them. I learned that embracing the Japanese culture was key to my happiness and my career progression as well. But the agency had a very interesting culture. For example, this was a recruitment campaign. The agency wanted me to be the British punk of the group because I was British. So they shaved my head for this photo shoot. There was at one time we made a company music video for our clients at Christmas. As you can see, I don't have any rhythm, but I tried my best anyway. Everyone liked to dress up, so I put my all into my costume. I'm the Lego man. One year, our director decided to give us all professional makeovers for the new year. Instead of hating it, I embraced this decision. This was my makeover. I had all my hair cut off. I really loved the end result though. When my director decided that she wanted me in a Japanese game show, I could have said no, but I went for it. And this has been seen many times. So to sum it up, I got to do amazing work by embracing culture. Thank you very much.
My name is Jesper. I'm going to be talking to you about magic. And I've come here from the magical city of Copenhagen in Denmark, where I work as a motion graphics designer, and I also teach motion graphics design. Now, a long time ago, I had this. I was working at an agency, and I had this boss. Some of you may have met her before, and she had this obsession with things being original, our work being original. And I had to ask her, what does original mean to you? And she said that original was something that has never been seen before. I sat down and wondered and thought to myself, that sounds an awful lot like magic, just conjuring something out of thin air, out of nothing. So me and my team sat down and we made that incredibly huge mistake of trying to conjure something out of nothing. A blank piece of paper, and as all of you who have tried this may know, that's a really bad idea because nothing comes from nothing. Trying to do magic works for very few people. So how do you go about doing something truly original? Well, my claim is that instead of going for the blank piece of paper, you should definitely do this. Go through all your Pinterest, inspiration folders you have in your hard drive, whatever, and just pick out all the best bits, all the really, really good bits, and just take them, steal them, and recycle them, combine them into new ideas. Recycle other people's ideas and mash them up into new things. Because there are no new ideas. All of them have been taken, so you have to recycle other people's ideas. And of course, this one will tell you that you can't do that, you can't steal, that's almost illegal. But my claim is that not only is this the best way to work, it is, for me at least, the only way to work. Because if you mash great things up, you'll get something 100 times greater. So my talk, when I get back here in 1 year, is going to be about recycling magic. Recycling other people's magical ideas. And not only are we going to go through the whole process of recycling other people's ideas, we're also going to be looking at a huge amount of really, really great work that's been done in music and movies and design that you all know and love already. So how I'm going to do that? Well, what have other people have had to say in this? I'll steal those and combine into a really great talk to you. So you leave here feeling confident. Thank you.
Another one of those great coders you see knocking around, this place is crawling with us. I'm here to talk to you about picture books, which I just adore. Picture books are great, they're like these little visual poems, and I've been fortunate enough to be able to work on some, combining generative art with picture books and these sort of one-off, unique, special books that you can buy online. They're print on demand, so they really are unique and special, like you wish your child was. Picture books themselves are unique and special as a media form. They're written for people who can't read, and they're designed as a performance. There's always lots of people in these pictures on this Google image search. And the best picture book writers know this. They leave space for you to improvise, and you become like the lead in a jazz trio between you, the author, and the illustrator. But digital picture books, I think, kind of miss the point of the interaction. They give stuff for you to tap on. There's no interaction between the parent and child, it's all between the child and the book. So what I decided to do when I tried something else was to focus on the voice. You use the voice and speech recognition technology to make the book come alive. And it needs to react to the speaker and give the reader a sense of control and mastery of what's going on. Because a voice is a wonderful thing. It's extraordinary. It's stupendous even. Why? Well, a voice can be loud. And maybe that wasn't loud enough. We'll put that down to stage right. A voice can be loud. I'm going to skip this for now because we haven't got enough time, but you get the idea. Remember where we were. So, this is what a voice can be loud. And a voice can be long, and short, and strong, and it can go high, and very low. And I'm not going to show you the rest of that demo, a lot of work went into this. That's real-time offline speech recognition. And the animation is sort of physics-based and procedural, like so to say flap, 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 flap. It's different, and it's happening as I say just those words, flap, flap, flap. And I also care about not just what you're saying, but how you say it. So hello is different to hello. And a lot went into this, and this was maybe 2 years of my life. And I also got to work with, in that time, some very talented writers and illustrators. And a funny thing happened. I wish I could tell you, oh, this is coming out soon, but if not, we were all working towards the same goal, which was to drag a performance out of the reader. And the author and the illustrator, their stuff started to do more and more of the heavy lifting, and what we ended up with is a lovely picture book. Anyway, follow me on Twitter.
First data visualization. It was about the Bay Area Rapid Transit and the employees going on strike. I was very curious about why they were striking, so I looked into their incomes, their cost of living, and the proposals from both sides. I learned a lot from this project, and I was very happy with what I built, but it was also a very controversial topic. And amongst the criticisms was this: what do you know about any of this with your cushy tech jobs? And they were right. What did I know? I was no expert, and I hadn't consulted with any experts. So I promised myself that I would only work on serious topics with the advice of experts so I could do these topics justice. In the meanwhile, I worked on really fun projects that nobody could take offense with. In 2014, I did this visualization of the YouTube channel One Fruit Productions and their friends, where each of these dots are collaborations between them, and as I scroll, the really fun part is as I scroll, they bop like an 8-bit video game. In 2016, I released this visualization of the top summer blockbusters in the last 2.5 decades, reimagined as flowers, where each of the petals are sized according to their IMDb ratings out of 10. And there's some really beautiful ones in here, but my absolute favorite is the 1997 Batman and Robin because of how teeny and tiny and cute it is. But after 3 years, I started to wonder if I was running away from these harder projects, and I started to wonder about the value of these silly side projects. And it wasn't until this visualization of every line in Hamilton that I realized my answer. Each of these dots are a set of lines in the musical, and because I wanted the visualization to reach a wider audience, I used the insights I found to introduce different parts of my visualization so that when the reader got to the very end, they could use my exploratory tool to filter by any set of characters, conversations, and themes, and dig into the remaining lines to do their own analysis. The project was shared widely and got really excited responses. But the most memorable were these, from those just starting out learning to code. And that's when I realized the value of these fun data visualizations, which is that because they're fun, they invite in the younger audiences and show them that coding could be beautiful and magical and colorful and really, really fun. Hi, I'm Shirley, and I'm starting to work on serious visualizations again. But I wasn't really determined to keep working on these fun pop culture visualizations in the hopes that they will inspire and reach many more people. Thank you.
I'm a Sketchnote and UX design consultant at a place called Foolproof. Here today to talk to you about Sketchnotes. You may or may not be familiar with the term Sketchnotes. Essentially, they're, I guess, part of this new visual thinking movement that's starting to take over. As the best way I've got to describe them is they're a way to think out loud on paper using images and words to support you. I get invited to go to different conferences around the world and capture their content in engaging and colourful ways. You might have seen on Twitter I've been doing a few of the talks here over the last few days, and actually one of the very first places I ever did it was at a Reasons To one day in London a few years ago. At Foolproof, we work for some of the biggest companies in the world, and I've been using Sketchnotes to sort of instill visual thinking into their processes really early throughout the whole project lifecycle, whether that's generating concepts, mapping processes, or just solving problems throughout. I also use them a lot in my personal life, so every year I capture my goals for the year. I capture all my travel experiences in sketchnote form, and I've been recently going into colleges and universities to help students there sort of think differently with workshops and things like that. Essentially, humans have communicated through doodles for hundreds of years, whether it was cavemen drawing saber-toothed tigers on cave walls, or of course the Egyptians with the hieroglyphics. And the fact that we've used imagery for that long proves what a vital, sort of important part it's played in the evolution of communication and language. And we're all natural born doodlers. You can put a bit of paper in front of a kid and they'll instantly draw something to express themselves. They might end up drawing a cock and tell you it's a pair of scissors, but there's no fear there at all of the embarrassment of their bad drawing skills. Unfortunately, at some point, this gets routinely sort of taught out of us. We're told at school that unless you're going to go be one of the arty types, you've got to conform, you need to work this way, you need to write your essay and crack on and get your head down. I think nowadays they might be trying, you know, they're starting to realise there's different learning skills for different people, but it certainly would have helped me out a lot when I was younger. Essentially what I'm trying to say is it's a valid form of communication that anybody can use. Sketchnotes are all about getting your ideas down and not worrying too much about the artwork. However, by building up my skills, it has led me to explore other side projects, such as this comic book I write, which is a document of my dad's adventures as the last remaining eel catcher in the deepest, darkest Lincolnshire fens. And somehow, randomly, off the back of that, I've ended up with my own range of t-shirts. So there's hipsters from Shoreditch to Singapore walking around with t-shirts with my old man's face on, which is pretty weird. He finds it odd. Essentially, what I'm trying to say is I'm not an artist and anyone can do this, so I'm really passionate that anyone can do this. I've seen lots of benefits from doodling, both in work and pleasure, and basically I'd like to come back next year and take some of you on that journey to give you the confidence to do it. Join me in the revolution. My name's Chris Fulton, there's my Twitter handle. Thank you very much.
I'm a creative coder in Toronto, and I'm here to talk about generative art and how I'm using JavaScript to create it. So back in 2014, it all started with this side project, just using lots of particles, simplex noise, sampling from an image underneath. And I started to realize just with JavaScript and Canvas 2D, you can actually create art. So that was kind of exciting for me, and then fast forward a couple of years, 2016, I built this side project called Audiograph. It's online, it's audiograph.xyz, you can check it out. It's an audio reactive art piece, and after I released it, I got a lot of good reception. It won some awards. It was turned into a touch table installation with Dolby Audio in New York City, and I showed it at San Francisco at 3D Web Fest. And the code is all online, you can check it out, GitHub, under my name, Matt Dizzle, and I also wrote a little blog post about it to explain some stuff. And after I released this, I got asked by a production studio in Paris to develop an original artwork to be exhibited in the Louvre in Paris. And so that was kind of a big moment where I was like, generative art could be a real thing, it's not just a hobby. More recently, in March, I have a pen plotter. It's that thing on the right, it's like a little robotic arm, and you attach a pen to it and you draw things out. So I started doing some generative algorithmic SVG files, just using JavaScript and generating these SVG files, sending those to the printer and printing it out. And some of the prints that I've done over the past few months, they look like this. The pen plotter really has this nice organic, almost like a human-like quality, where the ink sometimes dries up or catches an edge. So it's really fun. It's starting to bring that digital stuff into more of a physical space. So this one, this is meant to be sort of displayed at like a really, really tall resolution, like 6 feet tall. It's again just JavaScript and generating an SVG file. Up close it looks a bit more like that. And it also works on a smaller scale, just printing it out with my pen plotter. Yeah, so it is an SVG file at the end. I'm also sort of exploring some more colorful stuff, like this is a print series I did, and I'm exploring how to frame it, how to print it, what kind of paper, what kind of ink to use. Here's a close-up. And this is all built with this tool that I'm using called PenPlot. It's on GitHub. And it's just a development environment to make some of this stuff easier, to make printing high-resolution images with JavaScript much easier, and also to sort of live reload and do a lot of iterative design as you're coding this stuff out. What's up next? Right now I'm exploring how can I take human motion capture data and turn that into sort of generative artwork. So thanks a lot.
Hello, I'm John, and I'd like to put together a conference. Got it. Okay, so, pretty good, huh? Listen, before I get them out, I've got to tell you, you know, if you do a full slot, then you've got an opportunity to lose your way. You can start strong, maybe lose your way, meander a little bit, get back in focus and come back. But 3 minutes, you have to be on, really on. So that is a tough thing to do. And I don't know what you think, but certainly I think that the quality of the slides on their own were just fantastic. It's almost like every year people see the elevator pitch and they go, I know where I've got to pitch for this thing and the quality that is expected. I think really they were first class and they really did have some balls to do that. So I'm going to invite them back out. I'm going to get them to run across the stage so that we get them out nice and quickly. But I want you to make a load of noise and say thank you to this year's elevator pitchers. Really fantastic. Now, guys, I want you to take a step back so that we have a little bit of space here. I'm going to leave them on the stage so that you can remember their faces, so that you know who you liked and who you didn't like. Just to reiterate what I said to you earlier, I will send out a request for feedback for the entire event, and one of your choices will be who your favourite 3 were. So you can mark your favourite 3 that you'd like to come and see back. Why are your knees knocking? Oh, please vote for me. Anyway, now, they were great, but hopefully you just thought, wow, that was really cool, and, you know, it just happened. But it happened because there are people that do this for me to make sure it's so slick and runs really well. So I'd like to say thank you to them. I have to say, the very first year I did this, I was so stressed that it was going to go well, that these guys said to me, no, John, take a step back, let us deal with it. And they've run it ever since. And hopefully you would agree with me, the quality is first class. So, first of all, I'd like to get Andy and Chris and Amy, can you just come up a minute, please? So, Andy and Chris, I have... A massive thank you. Andy has been doing the elevator pitch since we started it in 2007, and he's never seen one, because he is backstage making sure these guys are all quiet, they're not jangling keys in their pockets, they haven't got a bag that they're going to trip over, and he's shuffling them along and so forth. So fantastic. Chris is also backstage, he doesn't get to see any, and he's actually done an elevator pitch himself. And Amy, is she gorgeous? She's lovely, because she's my daughter. You know. Anyway, so a big thank you to these 3 guys. Now, you guys stand back one step. Are you going to leave? Oh no, stay, because I want to look at you as well. Now, obviously, as you've seen, they go on and off and on and off like this. So speaker 1 is leaving, speaker 2 is coming on. So obviously someone has to do the sound. So Justine, are you there as well? Is she hiding? Justine, come over. Just wave to everyone for us, please. Thank you. I don't know if you saw it, but Richie, do you want to get up? There was a really handsome guy putting on the computers and he's on cans and he's talking to the AV saying, can you see this picture? And, you know, it looks like I'm just saying, oh, and he brings a computer out, and he holds it, you know. No, they have got detailed records of the type of computer. Does it have sound? Is it a PC? Is it a Mac? Do you have an iPad? Etc., etc. These guys have drilled all of this lot 4 or 5 times in rehearsal, so it's a big deal. You know, they've really done well. I just want to say one more thank you, and then I'm going to get you to fuck off. Thank you. Fantastic, really great. Oh, it's always great when something goes well, and hopefully you've already chosen your favourites. Now, something that I've messed up with, Job told me I've messed up with something. The printed schedules that I put outside, I put the wrong bloody times on them. So actually the correct times are on the website. So the order is correct, the theatres they're in is correct, it's just the times. So I'm going to put some stickers over there and make it look a bit ugly, but I'll make sure if you're looking at those, you've got the right time. So if you want to know the times of the next sessions, they're on your phone, on the website. Okay, so we've got 15 minutes until the next talk start. I want you to go and have a coffee and a bit of fresh air, talk to your friends about who you think is the best. And before you go, can I have the lights, Scott? Just interesting. You remember on the first day I said to you, if you see someone standing on your own, just please say hello to them, because, you know, I like to think of it as a big family. Hands up, who's met someone new since you've been here? Fab. Right, hands down. Hands up who has not met anyone new. Right, come here. Hi, I'm John. Nigel, hey, now you've met someone new, haven't you? Please say hello to Nigel. Okay, off you go. We'll see you in 15 minutes.
Okay. Yeah.